So this is my personal vlog on a conspiracy casting network that I've made. I have used this channel to document the abuse, the unconstitutional violations, the obstruction of justice, and the color of law. This is something that's derived, what I believe to be, from the intelligence community. I have a plethora of videos that I've uploaded, and it's been 3 weeks. I was supposed to do a video once a week, but I had so much crazy stuff going on between the last video where I posted regarding Regional Paramedic Services and now. So it's a point where every single day it's vehicular stalking, it's vehicular road rage, it's everything that I've already explained in previous videos. And I have so much information that it would take me a long time to always upload it on the video portion, like actually sit down and make a 4K video and then render it. It's just so much documentation. On the other aspect is that I have other things to accomplish on the pro se behalf, as well as in my school behalf. There's just too much going on for me to keep up with it and to break everything down. In the regional paramedics video, I was basically sharing this dialogue that I had after a patient's family member decided to yell at me and tell me to leave the house. And I had the interruption and the disarming tactics from the quote unquote trainer who basically cut me off and began doing their own thing as if I wasn't there, which deliberately led to closed-end questions. And then the patient's family member didn't like that. And I called for a debrief, and there was a bunch of other problems going on that I called a debrief for it. And at no time was I ever put in a circle or an arena that I was able to speak with any other of the team members on the call. And so they just basically walked me out, essentially, using all of these why questions, and everything that I say is always wrong, right? Everything that I say to them or question them, it's always I'm wrong, and you can hear that in that whole piece. And this is part of that conspiracy oppression. Then I went to Shoals Ambulance after that. And then you hear that whole series on Shoals Ambulance, right? And that was Mr. John Prater that I was speaking to, right? And he turned it into, oh, well, all I'm going to ever hear from you is the things that that you're better at and how you're going to educate me, right? And that's not what a leader does, right? And at no point in time are any of the paramedic trainers or FTOs, what they call supervisors, and any of the services exhibiting any form of what the healthcare or leadership consensus would say is a form or a type of leadership style, right? It's not transformational. It's not transactional. It's always passive aggressive silence. It's always just waiting for me to start working and then cutting me off, disarming me, interrupting me. That's what it's always about. And when I say or state something that's correct, they then always say I'm incorrect. And this is how they just walk you out. So the purpose is to invite you in, right, through HR. Oh yeah, you have a job opportunity. And then they just walk you right out, even though you're doing what you're supposed to do morally, ethically, legally. And then what happens is you're not afforded an attorney. You get to call in people, and I called OSHA. I even called OSHA for the conditions I was in inside that ambulance. And they didn't want to have anything to do with it, except they said I had 30 days. I started giving them scenarios, and then he didn't even want to work with it. And so everything is swept under the rug. Even at OSHA, called the EMS office in Alabama. They didn't respond back to me, but they said they received it. Then I get propaganda a couple weeks later, which I've already told you about. And so somebody randomly used one of my shipping items from Amazon. They used that order number to send propaganda to my house, and they did it twice, right? And Amazon's investigation unit still hasn't gotten back to me. This is going on 3 months ago. Since that time, I've had 2 roommates in the last year. 2 of them look like my brother, right? And they do this frequently. So they habituate your atmosphere with people who look like your family or anybody who's caused any type of stigma, harassment or abuse or anything that would cause your mind to linger or think chronically about. And so they'll bring these people into your life and start keeping them around your proxemics and your social space, right? So that you're deviating from your mind of peace, right? And always under chronic stress, elevating cortisol levels, making sure that you get heart disease. That's what this is about, making sure that your hippocampal region shrinks from elevated cortisol levels, perpetual environment of abuse. Okay. Also, I noticed that I do this a lot, and it's because I have itchy eyes. I don't know. I think it was a summer thing where the ragweed was getting a little strong, but I have an air purifier now. Anyways, so those 2 roommates, both of them are gone now, thank God. But I had to, purchase basically a Taser 7, right? I've got a Taser 7 now because I've had an issue with stalking, which are to the 2nd degree with both of them. I had to go and get my own handcuffs. I had to go and to the North Precinct and have a discussion with them and report and do my due diligence and let them know what's going on. And then when I got up there, and I have all this on my valve log. So all of this that I'm talking about, I have it all on record, everything that I said. And basically, bottom line, I get up to the Birmingham, one of the Birmingham precinct offices, and the police are literally obstructing justice in the color of law, which is a felony, not allowing me to document and giving me a hard time about it. Literally verbatim obstruction of justice, right? And under certain laws in the states, private citizens can make arrest. Okay. The thing is I had this guy, Will Decker, I talked to you about, and Nicholas Frucci. Will Decker had come in, plays minor league from Charlottesville, I believe Virginia, comes in and starts being a bull in a china shop around the common quarters. I always advertise our expectations here. I talk about it and make sure that you understand that's what our expectations here during the interview. And when you come to sign a contract, we go over it again, what the expectations are. And I always say on every one of my tenants that signed a contract saying that they want a room share, I let them know this is the main one that's a problem. Every single one of them knows it. But this guy, Will Decker, decides he's just going to tear through the house and he's just going to do whatever the hell he wants to do. And what he started doing was using this CIA, I would call it saturation techniques, or, I talk about the manual of sabotage and the field manual of sabotage, right? Written by the CIA, which documents how they're using saboteurs within the community to undermine and sabotage workplace settings, industrial settings. And it's no different than what the Green Berets or PSYOPs programs would do. And it's no different than what they do in contemporary intelligence communities today. We know, they were causing the riots and uproars, right, with Ukraine and Russia, right, funding that. CIA funding $5 million or more, right, to establish that. So what they do is they take these shows that you see, back in the 90s, in the 80s, candid camera, right? And they'll have all these people acting in the atmosphere, in the social space, and they'll target somebody and then see how they react on camera, right? And then you go and you laugh and appreciate what it is that they pranked them with, or got them to think about, right? And the problem is this is my life, but it's that show on steroids, and it's like it everywhere I go. So everywhere I go, I literally have hundreds of thousands of people driving around with red vehicles following me around, blue vehicles. They try to make patterns of red and white, which are the patterns that I last knew of my parents' vehicles, a red truck or a white SUV, right? So they make these patterns of past relationships that I've been abused by and past stigmas or of triggers, right? That are in my psychology or in my mental space. And if it's not there, then what they'll do is they'll take it and they'll create something. And in this case, Will Decker was taking tissue papers and making a mess deliberately of the places that I frequented. And this is not the first time this type of tactic has worked. I call it saturation, where they are able to remotely survey where I walk geospatially. I was told that they're using technology by a roommate in physician assistant school, something about a GPS, some type of GPS satellite where they're literally tracking me. And even if it's true or not, it doesn't matter because accuracy and precision says it does based off of my objective information. Okay. So either way, I don't really know what's really going on, but I do know that it's ongoing real-time surveillance and it has accuracy and precision. You can't do that without technology. So like I always say, I'm not going down a rabbit hole of what type of things are really being used against me. I just know that it's sophisticated technology. Long story short, Will Decker decides he's going to start scuffing up and pouring things and wiping grease and fat all over the things, the areas that I frequent. Every 48 to 72 hours, I'm sensitized or anchored, what they call, to these tissue papers all around the house, pieces of it up in the front yard, exactly in the middle of the walkway, right? I found it in the cupboard whenever he left. And so I told him what the deal was, and then he started trying to belittle me and start talking about how I'm a problem and this, that, and the other thing, and trying to block me out of the kitchen. So I went up to the precinct and I went ahead and made my report. And then the precinct's trying to challenge me about what I can and can't do, telling me that I'm impersonating a police officer and all this bullshit basically to deflect, right? Those 3 Ds that the FBI liked to use back in the 60s, right? Disturb, discredit, right? And misdirect. I guess there's not 3, there's just 2. Neutralize. And that's exactly what's going on in my life. Everywhere I go, I'm misdirected by the law. Okay, I'm discredited everywhere I go. And then they make sure to misdirect me. And the police have been doing this. I've even found when I first moved here and I made a complaint that they wrote a police report saying that I was mumbling something that was incoherent. They weren't completely clear and all this other shit that I have on record what I said. And he contradicts that and writes his own little report and then goes and stashes it. So I have obstruction of justice by the color of law, which is a felony. I know my rights as a Title under 15, right? Title 15 states private citizens can make arrests. And I basically have a campaign full of hundreds of thousands of people stalking me. When I get to my employers, they want to reach out to me and say, oh, yeah, you could have a job. You could have a job. Here you go. And then they have this demented plan to make sure that they fire you within a year or under a year. Every single time you go in, and then they have all these slandering campaigns, which you've heard through shows. They have all of these questionings as why didn't you contact me, or what did you say? And and every time I call for a debrief, there's always there's always something about HR involved or a supervisor, but it's never about the parties who instigated and made the complaints. So, for example, at Regional Paramedics, not once did Travis say anything during any meetings. Not once did he acknowledge anything. He just left, and that was it. When we went to talk with HR and the other Prater and the other supervisor, Bailey, Not once did the EMTs and medics, right, come in and have a chat. And no, we didn't talk about anything, right? And it was just all about me and what I said. And everything was all about this. Well, why didn't you do this? And try to put wrong on me and try to tell me that I'm wrong when I'm not wrong. Everything that I've reflected in my books says I'm not wrong, but yet I'm the one that's released. And it's the same thing. So from that point on, after that video, I was dealing with Will Decker for 3 weeks, going back and forth with him, doing noise pollution in the house. And essentially it just led up to stalking. Then I have Nicholas Frucci doing the same thing. The day that I gave an eviction notice, which was between our last video and October 30th, I told Decker that he was going to leave on the 30th of October. Every single time we had a discussion, I was giving him warnings. He wants to come and do it again. Act like he's not doing it, use narcissism, have to call the police over to the house. Eventually it builds up to, you're not to come, you're to leave on the 30th, and that's that. And he finally left, decided he was still going to continue the abuse. And the day he was leaving, I was going to arrest him. And then I went to go let the police know that, and this is all on record on that day. And the police decided that they were just going to fight with me verbally in real time, knowing that Decker went to go back and get his shit. So Decker knew that I was going to arrest him, because this is the type of program that they're on, is they're always able to predict preemptively what my actions are. This is why I get to telling you about how every time I go to the grocery store, they have things propped up, right? They have all these props already there to reflect what it is I'm doing or what I'm about to do. Or what they'll do is, one of their favorite things to do is they'll make you sit somewhere. They know that you're coming to the event. So if they want you to sit somewhere, then they're using a crowd, right? So all they have to do is the crowd just goes in and they just sit wherever they want you to sit. So they'll fill up all the seats where in that room or in that restaurant. They'll fill up all that stuff. So if they want to abuse you with a sign, they want to abuse you with a person, they want to abuse you with faulty equipment, with a fucked up chair, with a fucked up table, or some type of fucked up angle, right? And all they'll do is they'll just have everybody sit wherever they want you to sit. Okay? So they'll block all the other empty seats. It don't matter if you get there super early. Okay? Sometimes it doesn't even matter if you get there super early. They'll have things that may appear like it's a good spot, and they'll draw your attention, and they know you like certain things. So they'll put something out there to make you sit near it or buy it, right? But guaranteed though, if you show up in the middle of a line, everybody's going to occupy every space and every spot until they get where they want you to sit, so that you can see something or run into something or run into somebody. This has happened at the bars of past relationships, okay, where they want you to run into a female. Then what they'll do is the group will walk and then lead you into it, right? So long story short, back to Will Decker on the 30th, I'm up there in the precinct getting ready to tell them I'm fixing to make a arrest, and I want to let you know that I've done my due diligence. And then they want to quarrel with me over the laws and try to challenge me and basically hold me up while Will Decker goes and gets his shit and then leaves. Okay, and they know this. I asked him persistently, let me have a police report, an incident report sheet, let me do my due diligence, and then they want to refrain and hold that process back. That's obstruction of justice in the color of law, right? They don't, and then they didn't want to show up when I asked them to. And so Will Decker, while I'm up there in the precinct, goes and gets all of his shit, and within 30 minutes, he's gone. And they are keeping tracks of me where my geospatial location is. And so I'm sitting up there in the precinct. When I get back, he's gone. Okay. Now, fast forward that evening. Nicholas Frucci comes home And he ends up putting, because he plays Magic of the Gathering cards. There's, just so you know, there's 90,850 cards, right? 90,850. Basically 90,100. Close to. And Nicholas Frucci decides the evening Will Decker is going to leave, and I felt relieved, right, that I didn't have to arrest somebody or that. And I even, hold on, it gets better. I forgot this because there's so much going on. Before October 30th, the days preceding that, I believe it was like 2 days preceding that, I went downtown to get a protection order and a restraining order against Decker. And I was led to the domestic court downtown. I come to find out, I'm looking at all the papers, I come to find out that I can't get a protective order through the domestic court or a no contact order through the domestic court. I'm filling out, it's called a PSA, is the act that I'm referring to. And come to find out, I'm not allowed to file it or pursue it against Will Decker because Will Decker is not a quote unquote intimate partner, right? We're not boyfriend, girlfriend, right? I'm heterosexual. So that ends in me going to the magistrate's office in downtown by a magistrate named Mackenzie. I knock on the door, look down the little offices, and in this little tiny hallway, I don't see or hear anybody. It's quiet in there, but they got all these stickers around. And I'm looking, and she rolls back her little rolling chair and does one of these numbers down the hall and looks at me. Says, "What's up? What's going on? Hello, how can I help you?" So I tell her the story, and come to find out, she, at the end of all of the chit chat, she says, "Well, did you make a police report?" I said, "I've spoken to the police and they won't give me a report." And that's the thing, right? That's where it started. So I started with a police report like I was supposed to. And then the police are deflecting using obstruction of justice. I'm telling them what I wanted to do. This is on record. I'm telling them what I want to do. And then they go and obstruct justice and then start deflecting my actions. We had this long conversation before I got there about how Jefferson County handles things and how Birmingham handles things. And it turned into this, well, this is this and this is that. And I rolled up, I said I wanted to make a report. And they go round and round with me the whole time. And that shit's going to stop. So whenever I then go back to the precinct, after doing my roundabout through the whole fucking city in every courtroom, finally come to terms that where I go home, I let Decker know what the deal is, that we're not making contact, and I end up having to call 11:30 that night. This was 2 days before his eviction, about him doing the same shit, running this toilet tissue game around the fucking house, trying to use semantics, okay, harassing. 11:30 at night comes around. Guess who I have to go onto the front yard and have a chat with? 2-3 police officers, 2-3 SUVs roll up. I call them there. They pulled Will Decker out the house, right? Got a scene in the neighborhood, right? And then the officer tries to tell me that he's basically trying to tell me what things that I already know is not true. And they're trying to walk around and give this dude the fucking advantage when there is no advantage for him. And he just needs to get arrested and get the fuck out. And so that's what happened on the 30th. I come home, find out he's still doing it. And he said he was going to start making moves around 3. He didn't do it. Went to the police precinct, said, "I'm fixing to make an arrest. And here's why." And then they held me up with some bullshit conversation. Oh, hold him up. Hold him a conversation. Deflect him, argue with him, do whatever it takes while we go and have Will Decker move his shut out. And that's what happened. Every time I go to this precinct, this freaking Officer Johnson, the day shift dude, always taking up my time. And this is why people don't do the right thing, because this is the type of police and the brutality and the obstruction of justice that you have to deal with. You get in there trying to do the right thing as a citizen, do the right thing, and then the judge wants to ask you, well, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you do that? And if you did do it, and yet you're still getting harassed by the police, it's obstruction of justice in the color of law. That's a felony. When I went up there and started arresting a freaking police officer, then we'd have the whole squad trying to bark down on me, and I'd have a lot of people to answer to. But the same thing, you know, people who don't have the emotional intelligence would probably go and do some heinous crimes with people who want to act up, like my tenants, right? So you try to have emotional intelligence and be civil, and then you have to deal with corrupt justice system on the other side. You're dealing with criminals either way. That's the end of the story with Will Decker. Starting the story with Nicholas Frucci, who was here before Will Decker, decided that on the day that Will Decker left, and I was relieved after spending a whole week trying to get ready for an exam because I'm in school, and this is a common denominator. Every time I'm in school, even in my bachelor's program, it was Jamie Whitehead running my fucking life out, you know, when I'm trying to be in school. It was all of this control with my fucking parents, right? All of these little things that I barely asked for anything. When I did ask for something, it was always no. It was always fucking control. That's the fucking problem in the moral of the story, is that you have this communal control and no independence, right? And it's not even that. That's just a piece of it. And then what they're doing is they deliberately target your emotional life by always making sure that you're inferior and you're a subordinate. At all times, they have a thumb on you. No matter what you do, if it's in your occupation, you're lied to and you're belittled, you don't use your scope of practice, and it's the same thing every single job. They tell you you're wrong when you're right. You go to get an attorney, you can't get an attorney. And then whenever you make mistakes, that's what they want. They want you to make mistakes. Whatever it takes for them to be right, whatever it takes for them to be over top of you. They target your finances, and then they stalk you with people and patterns and abuse you, and they just do whatever it takes. So it's beyond relationships. They target your manhood, right? They give you STDs, whatever it takes, right, to trash your life. So the thing with Nicholas Frucci is he decides on the day of October 30th, when Will Decker leaves, he's going to take his Magic of the Gathering cards. We're going back to this conversation. 90-some thousand cards. He has 5 of these cards inside of my bathroom. 4 of them are laying face down. 1 of them's laying face up. And the one that's laying face up is a picture of a character. And I have the exact card. I have the exact conversation in the report that I made. I have all of this on audio. Everything that I'm saying, including the conversations with the police and all that stuff, is all on audio. Okay. And that's the other thing. My audio is my audio, and it's not gone. It's not missing any dates. It's not missing any times. You know why? Because it's not Wi-Fi or GPS capable. Go figure. Go back to my R2 4K. It's Wi-Fi GPS capable. Guess what? I'm missing information. Why is that? Because you're hacking it, right? You're hacking any device. Just like I have issues day before yesterday with my laptop. Anytime there's that internet connection, they go through, and I'm typing away on my outlines, do what I'm supposed to do as a responsible tutor. And then they go in there and they start hacking the laptop so that the keystrokes start messing up. And they love doing that shit, messing around with the keystrokes so you can't control the fucking laptop. They were doing that when I'm trying to get ready for a tutoring session. So then I got to stop, restart the computer, cut the fucking Wi-Fi connection, and then get back on. And then what they'll do is they'll hack it again, and they'll just remotely hack the fucking laptop so that every time you hit the keystrokes, something stupid will happen, like the freaking caps will come on, or the screen will start highlighting in blue, and then the cursor will go fucking haywire, all this dumb shit. And they just remotely start hacking the fucking laptop. Okay? So Nicholas Frucci decides that he's going to throw this card and 4 other cards, right, face up. I got the name of it. I forgot the guys. It's in the report. But there's the name of this particular card is a character that looks just like Will Decker. It's a portrait of a dude that looks just like Will Decker. And he leaves it. Not only does he put it in the fucking bathroom, but he puts it in my hygiene basket. The same hygiene basket that I go to every morning, every evening, and in between when I go use the bathroom and wash my hands, I go inside my hygiene basket. And this bastard put it inside the hygiene basket with this card face up and the 4 other cards face down. The evening Will Decker left, and I felt relieved. The next day, okay, the next day is Halloween. He knows that I've had an issue with this whole paper toilet tissue bullshit. So around the house, around the common quarters, right? This is why I have a roommate in a tenant in the past had cracked a window right where I stand on the right side of the sink so that the right corner is cracked. He knows that that's a common area. Will Decker decided he's going to do petty vandalism, start chopping up the fucking countertop. The same countertop that I frequent every single day. The one that I use to cook with every single day. And this is what they do. It's called the saturation. I call it saturating. Nicholas Frucci decided he's going to take the cards and put it in my hygiene basket and establish stimuli of abuse in the place that I frequent. Non-stop, right? Will Decker knows when you come out of a particular area of the hallway, there's a glare on the floor. He decided he's going to put some hot fat wax and grease on this particular glare. Same thing, he waits for me to clean the front glass door. In 24 hours, he'll take his palm and a bunch of grease and butter and wipe all over the front door glass within 24 hours. I go to wipe it, within 24 hours, it's right back. I go to wipe it, within 24 hours, it's right back. But it's never an accident. It's never just I'm using the door. It's within 24 hours, I just wipe it right back. And then if I just leave it without wiping it, there's never a new stain or a new mark. There's never an accidental secondary one or a tertiary one or a fourth one, right? It's just the fact that I wiped it, and then he decides within 24 hours he's going to take his whatever the hell it is and wipe it all over the front door glass. Okay, this is the type of abuse I'm talking about. Frequenting those areas that are habitually used and saturated with abuse. Frucci decides that the following day that he's going to take toilet paper and put it around the sink countertop and everything. And so I said I had enough. I said, you got 7 days. Okay. After 7 days, before 7 days was up, you have to realize 7 days, let's see here. This is November 11th. So I'm back at it with the police, essentially. I think around, I took the exam. I didn't have time. I didn't feel like challenging it because I just went through so much with Will Decker. And I had this exam on the 4th. So I was like, there's no way in hell that I'm about to just blow my top and go to the police again. Okay. But I did give him the 411 that he's got to go. I had initially said, you can go between semesters. I'm doing you a solid. I gave him a 90-day notice like several weeks ago. Long story short, I had to put up with it again through this exam, just like before. It's always something. Before my exams, I have women on the Positive Single website contacting me to harass me before my exams. It's always days before my exams. It's always days before I have to perform. It's always something, okay? And I'll get into that now with varsity tutors on this video too. And long story short, I go through my exam thinking that I could make it. Like I go up to the exam, I think that's that Friday, thinking that I was going to make it. Dude, I couldn't make it. I just couldn't make it. I ended up, I think it was like that Wednesday or Thursday before the exam, because I was just getting stressed out that I just felt like I needed to perform. And I just got fed up with it, always having interruptions in my school. It's the same thing when I was in University of Toledo. The fuckers who are inside my computer now are probably the same shitheads that were in my computer then, erasing my research, right? I'm taking time to do my research, and they're over here erasing my research while I'm in school, following me through rotations and sleeping the computers in my rotations. When I go to approach them, they'll force the computers to sleep. Literally tracking me everywhere I go. So I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. I have to look before the exam on Friday. I said enough's enough. And I went up to the precinct and I started to let them know, hey, I'm here to make a report, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm letting you know this is what I'm going to do. I'm supposed to be doing my due diligence. I'm letting you know. All of a sudden, I get this backlash again, all about how this is a civil matter and this and that and all this bullshit. I said, I'm not up there for a civil matter. I said, I'm up here for a criminal matter, stalking in the 2nd degree. And I gave him the chapter information and the laws. And I said, I want to make a report. And again, it's obstruction of justice. And he knows that I've got an issue. And I started texting him. I said, look, this is my game plan. This is what I'm getting ready to do. I said, number one, he is not to return to my property. If he does, I'm going to arrest him. Number two, he is only allowed on my property unless he's going to get his property. Long story short, he calls another officer up there. He comes in and starts antagonizing me, asking me about my stun gun and telling me that he's got a more powerful one. Anything it takes to distract me and to subvert. Anything to distract and subvert. Again, obstruction of justice in the color of law. To hold me up there. I let Frucci know that he's not to come via text. And then all of a sudden, he goes, well, I think I got something figured out. He said, I think I can figure something out. Because I was initially going to be cool enough to just let him, and I don't even know why. Really, it wasn't about being cool. It was just, I don't feel like dealing with anything regarding this dude. You just need to stay off your property. You can come get it tomorrow. But he knew I was up in the police, again, because they have this surveillance going on somehow remotely, where I'm at geospatially, where they're at geospatially. And so the whole time I'm being held up by Subversion, by the police officers. He's all of a sudden got he's got a place to go. All of a sudden he's got help, multiple people to help him. And then all of a sudden he's ready to go get his shit within an hour. Right? And meanwhile, the police are sitting there subverting my dialogue, preventing me from making a police report, and then trying to question and undermine my report as a private citizen regarding stalking to the 2nd degree, regarding trespassing and making a private citizen's arrest, as Title 15 says. And then I have douchebag police officers who are committing a felony, who I should arrest, right, and bring to a magistrate or a LEA or their sergeant, okay? And I'm dealing with all this the night before my fucking exam. I told Frucci, you got until 0100 to get your shit and get it out. So he gets it out by around 12:15. I get home, barely get any sleep, gotta wake up, go do the test. And then my A&P instructor at Jefferson, is blowing up all of our grades with extra bonus points to make it seem like I'm not going to suffice, or I'm not going to, that I'm not having any impact. It's not having any impact on me, right? Because I'm making good grades, even though we're getting 1,000 freaking bonus points, right? Just make it seem good. Just throw it under the rug, put some sugar coating on it. It's all good. So I get to Jefferson State, tired as hell, beat like a dog, because I've been dealing with all that shit the day and the night before, morning before, literally hours before. And I decided that I had enough of sitting over in this one section, because I got this dude that, again, they're using these people from your past to try to create this backstory about your past and bring your history up. And my mother would abuse me with comments over the phone like, oh, history has a way of catching up, huh? And taunt me and shit over the phone over this stuff. And she knows what the fuck's going on. She knows, because it's been going on since I was a fucking child. Food poisoning me and shit every 2 years, and telling me fucking bullshit stories about basically gaslighting me about how they were going to control me. And that's exactly what they've been doing. Having conversations that pertain to my present day, right? So, long story short, I'm sitting inside taking this exam. And since I jumped in with this course, I've got this dude that looks like Xavier Kennedy, the guy that was from SIU that I hung out with. And he decides, this guy always sits right in front of me, decides that he's going to look just like him, have the braids and everything look like him, kind of act like him, right? And just do whatever it takes to mimic and reflect, right? Personal or past relationships, just like Frucci, just like Sohit Nagam, all these guys that look like my brother, right? And this guy's I've been tolerated the whole time. This is the same spot that the girls sexually harassed me, right? Same spot that the girl moved from. She was sitting in front of me too. This is the same spot where they were abusing me, where they had this Hispanic chick that was always sitting by me in lab, right? Trying to create this social relationship. And then she's gone now, but the stimuli of abuse from her was she was 17, right? Trying to get me involved with someone that's underage. Using, again, my interest and my likes, or somebody from my past. So on this day, I just was so intolerable to the ambient abuse that I decided that I'm going to move over to the front door. God, was that a fucking mistake? Because everybody in that exam room decided they were going to get up exactly, and I mean, no millisecond before, no millisecond behind. They were going to get up exactly every minute and 15 seconds and walk through that door. Click, click. And I asked for the door to be shut while this instructor was barking on the other classroom to his students. And the proctor goes, oh yeah, I'll shut the door. And then the students will just leave it kind of cracked, and I gotta go shut it. And that was a mess. Then I had the same abuse with the trash can piece, where they love to come and walk by and anchor you and sensitize you like you're trash. So what they do is they keep the trash can there too. So they walk by, throw that in the trash. Go to the gym every time you're done doing a set. Every time you accomplish something, you go and get a paper towel. Some chick's there, throw something in the trash. Some dude's there to throw something in. Every time you turn, like clockwork, right? And so they sensitize you to the trash, like you're trash or something. But the whole time it's just this campaign, being trashy. So I finally get the hell up out of there, the last student out, by the way. And I was like, shut the door. I had everybody in that room done and out. I didn't care who was in there. I said, you know what? I don't even want anybody in here. And then I started going to work. Finally had some mental clarity. So that was October 4th, I believe. Or November 4th. Sorry, November 4th. So between then and now, every day I go to the gym, I've got to be harassed by people wearing blue. Yesterday, same thing. Blue water bottle wants to walk in front of me in the locker. Blue shoes, blue shorts, wants to walk in front of me with the blue shorts. Literally in my personal space in the gym, 2 people, blue short, blue water bottle, walk in front of me in my personal space. Get out to the floor. Got some guy wanting to try to taunt me, ask me some questions about something irrelevant. I told him I'm on the phone, decided to ignore him because every time I talk to somebody, they want to ask a question of abuse or stimuli. They want to gaslight you about something. So I can't even go to the gym and have appropriate physical health without being taunted. That's all on video. I got pictures of the card. I got pictures and video and audio of everything that I'm talking about. The only thing that's ever erased, again, is everything associated with a Wi-Fi and a connection. That's the only thing that's ever tampered with. It's the only thing that ever goes corrupt. I've got women who keep contacting me clear up in Michigan and Wisconsin on my dating sites. Right? But I'm showing interest in people. I've got over 1,000 people in my inbox. And you can't make a connection. Right? But before it was completely fine to make a connection. But now all of a sudden you can't make a connection. Right? I'm working at a place that I basically assist people as they die. I think it was the week of the preceding Halloween. I was at this place and they sent me to this lady's house. There's a gentleman, but long story short, this white SUV harassment that I've been talking about on my past videos, you can see that, continues. And they still continue to do it, but it's not at the level. Basically, I guess they're, since I've decided not to do any tenants. I guess technically the monthly payments that I would be getting of income would have sufficed if I wanted to do that. But I don't ever, make payments like that on vehicles. I make sure everything is paid for because it's a stupid financial investment. But long story short, I just noticed all of a sudden the number of white SUVs has declined. Like everything, they're still following you, but it's not hordes of them. Hordes of these freaking SUVs were following me everywhere I went. So I uploaded a snippet of what I'm talking about, what I have to deal with. So I had to drive 45 minutes to this house down south. And this was all, again, preceding my exam. And I even had varsity tutor hounding me the week preceding my exam. And so it's like they're always trying to target my performance on exams. They're always trying to make sure that before the exam, they stress me out or they subvert me using this subversion of attention. They want to subvert my attention somewhere else, right? So I'm about to do a night shift. Like I think it was a Sunday night to Monday morning, I believe. What does it say? Yeah, I'm right. It was October 27th. So yeah, it was the week preceding my exam. So let me get on here real quick with the screen share. Okay. So I'm leaving my house. First thing they want to do, whatever they could bring a similarity across by, which is in this case a white SUV / truck. But it's just the simple fact that they've been anchoring you, right? They've been anchoring you. I'm literally on my, like I literally am no more than 200 feet away from my house. I pull out to the intersection and they want to time me come through. Okay. So there's one. And we just keep going and going and going. And he decides he's going to drive in front of me. Right? And we just keep going and going. So I get on the road and I'm making this long transit. And along the way, everything is relatively, I guess I would say, from what my experience is as being in my teenage years, the vehicular harassment wasn't there in my teenage years. But I would say that things are relatively normal kind of going into this, relatively. And it's nighttime, so I can't see right the distance wise in front of me, but it's still dark. And all of a sudden I'm getting maybe like a third of the transit in. And then all of a sudden, sure enough, here they come, right? Here comes the white SUVs. So I'm probably maybe 7 minutes into the drive, tops, 7, 8 into the drive. And I'm navigating. So let's go back. All right. So let's start there. I guess I misspoke. Everything wasn't normal. And I didn't even bother to look through this because I just got fed up. All right, there you go. So it's because there's so many days that I'm thinking of that I can't really, like without documentation, it's just hard for me to even consider it. But apparently I did feel the whole day was just a bombardment of this white bullshit campaign. And sure enough, it was. It's just that I didn't look through my video carefully enough. So anyways, I'm leaving, right? They start with this, timing me exactly when I pulled up, and I'm leaving. Apparently, less than, I don't know, what is that, like 3/4 of a mile away, I get to this intersection right here. For some reason, hold on a second. Let me see if I can do this. There we go. Let me do this really quick. Let me zoom in. There we go. So this white Avalanche, I'm following this white Avalanche. I get to this first intersection. Okay. I pull up and there's this white SUV pulling up when I'm pulling up. Yeah. I was just flipping through the video. I knew that this particular day was crazy because these white SUVs were literally following me all the way to the fucking house of this patient, 45 minutes away. 45 minutes away. This is what I had to deal with. And I think, was it 45? No, this one was actually 22. This one was 22. The next one, I have to report to another guy's house. This one was 22. I'm going to a patient's house where I declined going again because he was a smoker. And I didn't want to linger in the smoking house. But I remember now. So long story short, I'm going to this guy's house, take care of him. And I've got timing of this white Avalanche and then timing of this white SUV in the first two intersections leaving my house. So I go. And then from this point on, as I'm getting onto the interstate, there's just a persistent inundation of white SUVs along the route until I literally get not only to his house, but there's white SUVs coming down the neighborhood in this small little alley that this guy's house is tucked away in. Here it is right here. Coming up, same thing, white SUV. Coming up, and then staying in front of me. And then once that leaves, then another one pulls up. Look, another one pulls up, right? Once it's out of sight. And the entire transit there until literally this SUV follows me. He knows that I don't know if it's a he or she, but they know, like in this case, that I'm getting off. You can see he kind of merges over there to the left. I get off, and then there's one waiting for me on the way in. This is how they abuse you. So first it's like, oh shit, like what? Like, oh great, I got to deal with this, right? I'm going to work. And then and it makes you feel like, okay, well, finally, gosh. And then you come off this merge, and it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's another fucking SUV, right? And then they just keep following you. And then here's the thing is like, this guy is going to be here, not that particular one, but there's going to be another one that's coming down. Hold on. That's coming down this neighborhood alley around a turn. He waits to come close to me when I'm on this extremely sharp turn. Okay. Right. Well, there's more than one of them too. There's one, I think this is the one where there's actually one sitting in the patient's driveway. And then there's one that's literally coming down and intercepting me on a turn. And I told you that's one of their patterns is they love to abuse you coming around a turn or a corner. Right? See if I can find it. See if I can take it slow. I think this is it right here. This is it right here. No, not it. There's one in here. I think it's right before I get to like his driveway. And his driveway. No. Wait. Hold on. Okay. I think it was onto the side. It may have been onto the side. Again, it's hard to recall. I just remember that this day was nonstop SUVs. And I think, yeah, SUV. So long story short, so I was wrong. I was just at that point thinking that light was probably an SUV. All I seen was a silhouette. I didn't appreciate that it was actually a black one. But the fact of the matter is the guy had a white SUV as well, which I thought was strange. And that's what they did. From the point you seen where I left to the point in which I literally got to the guy's place, his residence. I'm inundated with this, right? And then all of the days going into this month, I have this perpetual red vehicle convoys following me everywhere, parking near me, doing all of this crazy stuff to just distract me. This has been going on deliberately, overtly since 2014, since I left physician assistant school. And it started in physician assistant school where they waited for me to take out $35,000 to waste my time in physician assistant school just to have me abused and kicked out in OBGYN when they conspired to give me herpes in microbiology. and then use crowd influence and crowd control to get me there. Using semantics like my name, Sebastian, and everyone saying, oh, just like the Little Mermaid, the crab on the Little Mermaid. Right? Using the redhead to get me connected to the girl with herpes, right? To make that connection, right? Because Ariel's supposed to be kind of like my friend, right? And then whenever the girl that I'm dating is around, they're using crowd control to blow her up, right? And exaggerate people's expressions when she's wearing bathing suits. Going over the top. And I felt that shit. I felt that shit the day we went to the lake. And everybody was trying to blow her up using crowd influence and crowd control. And I knew something wasn't fucking right. Just like I knew how you guys were abusing me with Jamie Whitehead. And then all of a sudden I have this submissive female around and the whole trap was the fucking herpes. Right? And the crowd control associated with it. Yeah. So the thing about it is this bullshit is still going on. Now I don't have any tenants, right? Because they want to saturate and abuse my house. And apparently I can't put them on criminal violations if it doesn't exceed $500, right? And I don't understand why they're hiding my blood tests. That's another thing, is I don't understand why they're hiding my blood tests from me, because I've taken 3 blood tests for HSV, and I made sure to do all the right ones. And they're all hiding that shit. The medical community literally hiding my fucking blood test. And then recently, I had to deal with Straight Talk. This is all within this last week. I called Straight Talk beginning of this week, right around, I don't know, November 3rd, 4th or something. They give me the smoke again. I have on record where they are hanging up on me. So I had to call the FCCC and tell them that this is what's going on, which is the Federal Communications Organization who's regulating this stuff. I'm supposed to relay to them that I've been getting wiretapped and all of my stuff rummaged through. My emails are still hacked. Okay. Still running the number 6. Every time my inbox, I turn it up, they make sure to keep it on the number 6. So it could be 366, which is what it's stuck on. It doesn't matter if I remove it out of my inbox or not. They make sure that the number 6 is on there, right? And finally, I have to go back and forth with the FCCC, and Straight Talk sends me a spoof after they hung up on me, stating that they try to call me again. All they did was send me a spoof that just populates a notification that there's a missed call. They never waited for me to answer, 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds. They just send it a spoof. They literally asked me, on record, I have them saying, okay, hey, Mr. Such and Such, what days would you like? Here's what we have in the past for your request. What would you like? And I got about 4 to 5 words in, and then they made sure to hang up to abuse me. And then they acted like they called me back by sending a spoof and hit me with a notification that popped up a second later saying that I have a missed call from that number. They never called. They just sent a spoof. And I already knew what was going on. So I contacted the FCC, said, here, look what's going on. This is the interaction I just had with them. They're probably going to send you notification that they were unable to reach me, and they tried to call again and were unable to reach me. Guess what? They sent back to me literally 1 minute later after I had already called the FCCC about that interaction. A minute later after I hung up the FCCC, I get an email saying, this is Straight Talk, your phone provider. We try to contact you. We're unable to. Yada, yada. Please call us back. Wrote FCC a nice little letter saying, this is what's going on. They're throwing smoke up my ass. This is what's going on. And then what they did was, I think 2 days ago on the 9th. Yeah, on the 9th. Guess what I'm doing on the 9th, November 9th? The morning of the 9th, guess what? taking an exam. Guess who calls 10 minutes before I take that exam? Every exam I've had this semester, there's bullshit going on the day before within 24 hours. Every single one, I have it on record. First, it's sexual harassment minutes before the exam. The next one is having to privately arrest somebody and confronting bullshit police officers in Birmingham who are obstructing justice literally hours before my exam, staying up all night, trying to have conversation with officers who are obstructing justice in the color of law, giving them all the right fucking reasons, and then having to make a private citizen arrest or consider it the very morning before I have an 8:30 in the morning exam. That was exam 2. Exam 3, I think it was a lab exam. I think that's what it was. So I'm getting ready to go take a lab exam 2 days ago because it's lecture exam, lab exam. Getting ready to take a lab exam at November 9th. 9 o'clock. It's a little late because she's got to do 2 groups because it's a muscle thing, insertion or just labeling. I'm studying, sitting there. Guess who calls me after the confrontation that I had with them the night, I think 2 or 3 nights before? The FC, or Straight Talk, at 9, literally 10 minutes, 15 minutes before I get inside to take my exam. They buzzed me twice. I left it be because I was in the middle of the classroom, and they knew I was in the middle of the classroom, and they wanted to call me right before that exam to irritate me. Yeah, to subvert me, right? To abuse me, to harass me, just like they've been doing, allowing people to wiretap my phones, allowing people to spoof me, disseminating my personal information, archiving my conversations, right? Like the cowards that they are, decide they're going to call me when they know that I'm sitting in the middle of a classroom and I'm getting ready to take a fucking exam. That was 2 days ago. I'm sitting here now tethered to some students on VT who think that they're going to take an exam in a week. They think that they're going to excel in the EMT exam in 1 week. And so now, instead of tutoring on a specific discipline, we're having to do a whole refresher course, right? Whatever it takes. And then the only good thing that happened is I was accepted to a program, an academic program, which I've changed my mind about because I just don't want to be around people who have the power to subvert me. So I have to dictate my occupational choices based off of this program, this illegal and unconstitutional program, which has led to bodily injury, financial injury, and has basically captivated every level of human rights because of it. Well, why would I want to be around a bunch of people whose sole purpose is to undermine and tarnish and sabotage my perspective and my passions? So we're going to decline that opportunity. I'm not wasting my time around that. And on top of that, that's not what I want to do when you've got people whose sole purpose is to make you inferior and subordinate and to treat you like a child and talk to you like a child. When every single time you're approaching things like a man, you're being direct and transparent. And then what they give you is this low emotional intelligence, neuroticism, narcissistic neuroticism, lying, deceit, and more gaslighting. You guys can keep that. So that's where we're at. That's why I wasn't able to do it by week like I'd like to, because I'm dealing with every day being targeted and harassed by vehicles. I have obstruction of justice in the color of law by every level of the justice system, from federal to state troopers to, oh, and that's the other thing. That is the other thing. So what day was that? So the day that the night shift, right? That night shift I showed you. The day afterwards, I had to go, that morning I had to go to another gentleman's place. And he was in hospice. At that place, I had this family's wife, or this family's daughter, that looked like Tiffany Stone from a past relationship, right? So the family's daughter looked like Tiffany Stone, this patient's that was literally dying essentially, and I had to call and ask about what I should do if there was death within, like imminent death, what I should do. So I didn't know what type of communication that they wanted me to relay, but the guy had signs and symptoms based off of my experience. Long story short, the family member, I think it was the daughter, looked like Tiffany, somebody who, again, I dated in the past, right? And then the guy before that, which you see me on video driving to his house, has this huge white dog, right? Which I've had a problem with in the past, trespassing on my grandfather's property, a dog of similar stature and nature. And this is an ongoing thing where these dogs that look like experiences in the past. And they just keep taking these and moving you around. And when you apply to jobs that you're interested in, you have passion for, they make sure not to give you that. They want to make sure they're giving you jobs with all of this diversity so that they can keep you under this psychological veil of abuse, using your history and your personal things and personal contacts or social contacts, things that you do, your habits, and they want to emanate these, animate them, reflect them back at you, have people that look like similar people of your past come and talk to you, gaslight you, right? It's this whole organization of abuse, saboteurs. Literally, if you took the manual sabotage and they say, this is how we get saboteurs, a community of people to do XYZ things, this is what we do to do it. And that's exactly what they've done, right? So then I'm leaving. Check this out. So I'm leaving one of their houses. Oh, what time of day was it? I think it was an evening time. It was an evening time. So it was Monday. I went to where you see in this video with the white SUVs. That was the night shift. Got off around 7 in the morning. And then at 10, I had to be at a place 45 minutes away from the house where I encountered this past relationship female kind of character. Leaving that house, she tells me something about there's a sheriff around outside and there's dogs. I'd be careful or something like that. Something like that, right? And there's dogs. She tells me they're running around. We have a problem with the neighbor. So I leave and get to go into the house. I get about, 10 minutes in, 10-minute drive, 8 minutes away. And all of a sudden, I've got a state trooper pulled up with their blue lights on behind me. And he pulls, and I pull into a little residential entrance. It's got its own lane going into it, solid white line, right arrows, pull into the side. And pulls me over. I said, what's going on? And he goes, your license plate's not in the back. I said, yeah, it's up front. He says, yeah, it's against the law to have it up front. And I cited the Alabama law that says in the subsection, and apparently the subsection says that for trucks, if you have a high likelihood or probability that the tag is to be ripped, torn, or defaced, that you're allowed to put it in the front. So I told him this. And then he said, he mumbled something like, do you own a truck? Do you drive a truck? And then he walked off with my card. I said, it's in the subsection. So then he comes back and he gives me this warning ticket. I said, why am I getting a warning ticket? I said, I can't attach it to the back because my vehicle was in Norfolk, Virginia. So it's got salt on the attachments on the back, the 2 bolts on the back. It's got saltwater corrosion on it. So I ended up stripping the left one and I couldn't get the right one completely out. So I figured the wind would probably rip it off. And I tried to get the right one out and it's all, what is that? What's that term I'm looking for? It's basically stripped, right? I tried to take a drill and get it out that way too. Didn't work. And in Virginia, we have a front bumper that needs a license plate, and we have a back bumper that needs a license plate. Okay. So I went and took the one on the back, put it up on the front, and drove with it like that because I could secure both attachment points. This guy goes on and on. Look, I'm not sweating it. Look, I'm not sweating it. Well, it's like, dude, if you're not sweating it, then why are you giving me a warning ticket? And it's just like my privacy, right? It's implied, just like the amendments, like 7, 9, 13, 14. It's implied that I have privacy. Same thing on the license plate. It's implied that if it's going to be ripped, defaced, or torn off, it's implied it needs to go to a secure attachment point, right? It's implied. Why it only says on there a truck, beyond me. Isn't a truck longer? Wouldn't it take you longer to identify that? Which one's safer? Something on a truck that's longer or something that's shorter, a vehicle? Which one is safer to have? If you had to actually make the accommodation and put it up front, which one would be safer and which one is common sense? So the knucklehead then goes and says, oh, well, you could just hang it up in the windshield. You could just put it up there in the window. But then you go to another state and they're like, oh, well, it's got to have the little lights on it. Otherwise, you're going to get a ticket. You got to have the little license plate lights on there. And that's what I have. I have the little license plate, right? Lights that go on the back. I rarely drive at night anymore. And I wouldn't be in a situation to have the problem if I wasn't going through the oppression. Trust me, that vehicle that I own wouldn't even be my vehicle. And again, they want to attack you on their problems. They want to create the problem and then attack you and give you consequences for the fucking problem. It's implied, right? It's not going to be attached. It's not going to be secure, right? It has a probability of being defaced. What's more safe, having it attached or not? And so I go to put it in the back, and guess what? Occasionally it fucking falls off, and we got to use tape and do all this other dumb shit. Instead of just having it right there, screwed onto the front, just like every other state, they think they've got to reinvent the fucking wheel, like it's a real problem, right? You couldn't have just fucking drove forward and just looking inside your mirror. Oh, there it is. Just like any other state, right? Just like the other states that require a front bumper license plate. So anyways, this guy tries to give me heat, and then I get home and have to deal with Will Decker. And this is all leading up to my exams, right? All of this shit within the last 3 weeks of you seeing me post Regional Paramedic. And then Varsity Tutors make sure to undermine my finance by shortcutting me my pay rate for the tutoring time that I'm doing by $20. For every 2 hours, I'm getting paid 20 less. And they've been doing this for multiple students. I go and tell them this, and then they say, well, can you give us the times and dates of your sessions? I go into my financial IPS account, which is the direct account associated and divided and kind of separated from the profile account that I have with them. It's exclusively for taxing purposes. And now all of a sudden I'm locked out with the same password that I've always used, the same username that I've always used. All of a sudden I'm locked out of the IPS account that documents what they've been paying me per session. All of a sudden the password's wrong. All of a sudden it's the wrong username. This is all within the last 3 weeks. Three. All of this stuff that I'm talking about in the last 3 weeks, and every single day I transit from my house to anywhere outside of this house, I deal with the vehicular harassment every single time. To the gym, to the grocery store, to the gas station, to go fishing, to go to the police department, right? To go downtown and report shit. They still fucking do it. Additionally, I have this guy from MedTrust Transport, one of the operations supervisors, reaching out to me. They know that I like to fish Hobie. Hobie's Tournament of Champions, guess where it was at? South Carolina. Guess where this guy was? South Carolina. Guess where his headquarters and a lot of his larger sister satellite organizations run? Clarendon County. Guess where that's at? Moultrie, Marion, South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, Orangeburg, South Carolina. This guy, these employers will try to reach out to you and start destroying the areas that you enjoy. I knew it from the get-go. Why is this guy, in my mind, I'm saying to myself, why is this EMS employer reaching out to me, trying to get me to go work out there? Initially, I just wasn't familiar with, I thought it was in Florida because he does have some in Florida. And I was kind of curious though. I sent them an interest to tell me kind of where they're headed and where they're working because I wanted to do a contract, just something brief. Come to find out, he starts sending me a bunch of information, wanting to talk to me and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, all the opportunities that I had gotten around here, they don't want to give me any. But he was more than willing to give me an opportunity to go out there. And that's what I'm talking about, is they want me to travel around and be abused by all of the things that I like. Everything that you like, they make sure you're abused by. So he can just hire me and fire me just like the rest of the EMS community. Right? Let go of my critical care, supposed to be instructing paramedic, and then Varsity Tutors only wants to send me EMT basic. EMT basic. EMT basic. That's it. EMT basic. So this is why I have to make my own stuff. I have to make my own channel for medic because I can never get opportunity to do medic. They always want to give me EMT basics. And I've got EMT basics that don't know terminology, right? They don't even know their anatomical planes. They don't know bones. They don't know nothing. And so you're spending more time on target going through this undermining process because you're not teaching at the level in which you're certified, right? They make sure that you're teaching 2 levels below at all times. So Varsity Tutors had been underpaying me. And then my IPS account is locked all of a sudden to go back, and all within the last 3 weeks, right? So this is what I'm going through, right? This is what I'm going through. The last time I posted a video, I have all of these things going on. obstruction of justice in the color of law, stalking to the second degree, right? Harassment laws, all of these laws being violated, you go and call an attorney, and guess what? Oh, we can't help you. Oh, well, we're just too busy. Oh, well, he doesn't practice here anymore. And I've even had bar associations send me to give, first they want their money, right? They want their money to make sure the referral service is getting you to, where they need to get you to. And then what they do is they just refer you to the inappropriate or the improper attorney. Meanwhile, they're taking your money. Always keeping you in poverty. And then even when you're going through pro se and you're going through the pro se guide, I've been through many pro se guides, and I go to file a pro se suit. It tells me exactly verbatim what I need. And then when I get up there to the clerk, even the clerk is subverting you. Even the clerk tells you, oh, you don't need that form. Well, the pro se guide says I need that form. So you spent all this time trying to learn about the form, either a cover sheet or some other sheet. You took all this time to learn about it, took all this time to fill it out, make sure it was right, and do a draft, and then reprint, and make sure it's all good. And then you go up there to the clerk, and she's like, oh, well, we don't use that here. Can you imagine whenever I have to navigate a lawsuit by myself? Where they go say, oh, well, we don't do that here. But, oh, by God, your pro se guide says you do. And then they abuse you when you go up there for sure. Second, you get up there to that court, no matter what court it is, they're going to have somebody there in a suit that looks like an attorney. Just remind you that you can't get one because they want to make sure that you're not retained for one, right? Make sure that they don't want to give you help. So no matter if you're calling their bar association, free referral service, it don't matter. No one knows anything. You just know that you have violations of law and that no one is going to help you out legally. And then when you do send it off, the magistrate or the judge, in this case, the past one that I filed in January 29th, still hasn't gotten back to me, still hasn't moved forward. And then when she did ask me for cause of action, guess what? She was asking for causes of action, which I already stated. And she's forcing me to reinstate what I've already stated, acting completely oblivious, like I'd never even spent time writing 13 plus pages, or however big it was. I think it was like 13 or 15 page suit, right? I have it all in there nice and neat. And then she doesn't take the time to read what the hell I put on there, and she's questioning it. What's going to happen? What's going to happen whenever I got to go to court and I've got to do the same thing and go through all these processes? I think next year. It's probably going to start somewhere in end of December, beginning of January. And I've got a judge who's acting like she doesn't know how to read, or a judge that doesn't know the jurisdiction or acting like it when it's obviously right there. It obviously stated it right there. I took the time, right, out of my life and wasted my time based off of wasting on the program that I'm being abused with, right? Forcing me to deviate and take all this time away from my life, okay, and my goals. And then she acts like she can't read. I don't know what to say. So, anywho, that's an update. Very large, very sophisticated, very detailed. And I have all of this on video, but the amount of work to put it all on video and organize it, it's actually more of a liability for me to upload and have a actual communication link or a internet link, because if I upload it, then what happens is they have access to it, right? They can go through the drive, they can go through. So it's like, why do I even put it on anymore when they're just going to erase it, corrupt it, and all that other bullshit, right? So now it's just about storing it and keeping it away from any internet connections, anything that has Wi-Fi, anything, because that's what this is all about. It's all about persistent surveillance. It's all about erasing the evidence, right? And if it wasn't fucking illegal, then why would there be a reason to erase the evidence? That's what the justice system needs to answer. And that's what the justice system will answer next year.